What's up, everybody? JVille Sports here with my sports picks video, college football edition. It is Friday night, October the 2nd. Happy Friday night to all you guys. Hope you guys have some nice plans ahead of you for this Friday night, or it's already pretty late, but hopefully you guys have some nice weekend plans coming up here as the weather starts to cool down. But if you don't have any plans, that's why we have college football, and we have a pretty nice slate Saturday in college football, especially in the SEC. We have some monster matchups already. As we know, most of these conferences are playing each other in conference games only, so right away to start the season we have some big SEC clashes that are going to be taking place. So we'll definitely see what happens. It's early on in the SEC. All these teams are only in their second game, so teams are still trying to get into their groove and whatnot. And we actually have a team or two that's playing their first game. We're already in week 5, and we have some teams, Air Force, off the top of my head, they're playing their very first game. We will actually get into them here shortly. But yeah, we have college football, so very exciting for another college football Saturday. Hopefully you guys had a nice Friday and just a nice week overall. But we are now in October. Welcome to October, Halloween month, costume month, all that good stuff. But for those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being a part of the village. What I like to do with college football is I like to do what's called a long shot parlay. There are so many games that we have every Saturday in college football. Not as much this year, obviously. We still have a couple conferences that are not in action yet, so it's reduced, but we still have a lot of action every Saturday. So what I like to do, I don't like to make a video and come on here and give out one play. I like to give out a bunch of plays, a bunch of games that I'm leaning towards. And what I like to do is I put them all together and I call it my long shot parlay. It's a parlay that I put in myself. It's not my top plays, but it's, like I said, it's a bunch of games that I'm looking at, a bunch of games that I'm leaning towards, strongly leaning towards. Some of them actually do make my card. Some of them don't. Some of them I do play personally. Some of them I don't, but I do play the parlay. It's just a fun way for me to give you guys, like I said, a bunch of plays. And if you guys are on the same play, then, you know, gives you a little bit more confidence that we're on the same play. If we're against each other, maybe you look at that game a little bit closer. But like I said, whatever you guys do with the plays, it's up to you. But it's just my fun way of giving you guys a bunch of picks, all in one nice parlay. If you guys end up taking the parlay, that's definitely up to you. If you want to get crazy with me, I don't necessarily recommend it. Parlays are hard to hit, especially the long ones like these, but I do hit them a bunch of times throughout the year. I don't know anybody out there that's better at parlays and long shot teasers than me, but they're still very risky. So that's what I like to do with college football. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into the action. We'll quickly recap our last week long shot parlay, and then we'll get into this week's. Don't want to make this too long of a video, so I'm just gonna quick hit these games and get on with it. So let me go ahead and find last week's long shot teaser here really quickly. So it was a 10-team parlay. We changed it up a little bit. I threw in some money lines. We did half spreads, half money lines. And this is what we had. We had Syracuse +8. They looked really good finally, and they were outright winners. We had Duke in the first half +3. It was a back and forth game. They had chances, but in the end they did not cover, and they ended up losing the game outright as well. And we had Florida State, Miami first half. Florida State did what was expected. They didn't score very much at all, but I was hoping that Florida State defense would hold Miami in check, and they could not. I think Miami pretty much scored on every possession. So Miami covered that first half total by themselves. We had Alabama in the first half -17. That one came through for us. We had Oklahoma in the first half. That one was close, but they did not cover the first half spread, and they actually went on to have a big second half collapse, and that was one of the huge upsets last week, Oklahoma losing to Kansas State. And then we had our 5 money lines. Expected to go 5-0 with our money lines, but we had one hiccup there in UL Monroe, who lost as a decent sized favorite. I think they were about a 2-touchdown favorite, and they pretty much lost from start to finish. They did not look good at all. But Louisiana, BYU, Texas had to come from behind overtime. Liberty took care of business. So we went 4-1 with our money lines, and we went 2-3 with our straight bets. So overall, we're hitting 60% still. 61%. We're 14-9 with our plays on the long shot parlay. So still looking good early on. We'll see if we can hold it. My goal is to stay above 60%. Very, very difficult number to hit throughout a whole season, but I am going for it, and so far we are there. That's what we did last week, and we are going to go with the same recipe this week. Half spreads, half money lines. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. This is week 5 of the college football season, but this is only our 4th attempt. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first we have Arkansas State taking on Coastal Carolina. Arkansas State is on the road. So I'm going to start with the negative here. So first of all, Arkansas State hasn't played in a few weeks. They've had 2 games now that have been postponed in a row, dealing with some COVID issues. But early in the season, their first game of the season, they played 2 good teams so far. They played Memphis to start the season. They lost 37-24, but they were competitive. They looked decent. It was the first game of the season. But then in week number 2, both these games were on the road, by the way. So they were on the road against Memphis, put up a good effort. Memphis is really, really good, especially offensively. Kansas State, they also played on the road, and they beat Kansas State 35-31. I just talked about Kansas State. They just beat top 5 Oklahoma. So that was a very, very impressive win for Arkansas State to beat Kansas State on the road. But like I said, the issue here is they haven't played the last 2 weeks, so they're going to be a little bit rusty. But they have been able to focus on their opponent in Coastal Carolina. So they could be a little bit rusty in the early going, some timing issues, maybe even throughout the game, some conditioning issues, but I don't think that should be a huge issue. Like I said, they've played 2 games already, and they should have been practicing as much as they can. So Coastal Carolina, they are 2-0 to start the season. First week, they played Kansas. Kansas is terrible. They did beat Kansas. A lot of people picked Coastal Carolina to beat Kansas, even though it was on the road, so it wasn't a huge shocker. Kansas just doesn't look good at all. They're terrible. And then in their next game, they played Campbell, a FCS team, and they let Campbell score 21 points. They did not look impressive in that game at all. Again, sometimes when teams play the FCS, they can relax a little bit. They don't typically bring the full intensity. So you can't really take a whole lot from those games. But like I said, they did not look that impressive. Campbell did score some points and move the ball. So I like Arkansas State here. To start the season, they were projected to be the better team. Early on, they played the tougher schedule. They look better. There's a reason why they're favored here on the road. So like I said, the only issue here is that they haven't played in a couple weeks. That's why I like the full game and not the first half, because they could get off to a sluggish start. But when it's all said and done, I like Arkansas State here to get the victory. Next, we are going with Baylor on the road against West Virginia. This is the first road game of the year for Baylor, and it's only their second game. This is the 3rd game here for West Virginia, so that gives them a slight advantage here. And if they can play the way that they want to play, this is at home. They've played 1 more game than Baylor, so they should be a little bit sharper. And if they can control the game here, this is not the same West Virginia team of a couple years ago that we're used to, the high scoring, no defense type of games. Lately, this team has been playing at a slower pace, and their defense is much, much better. So like I said, this is the first road game here for Baylor. They looked decent in their first game against Kansas, but it was Kansas. They did score a bunch of points against them, but this is definitely a step up in class here against West Virginia. I think this game can get off to a little bit of a slow start. They had a really low scoring game when they played last year. So I think we can see a similar story here. So I'm going with the first half under 28 here. Hopefully we get a few field goals in this game instead of touchdowns, and in the first half, I should say, and that should cause the game, the first half, to go under the 28. Next, we are going with Alabama first half for the 2nd week in a row. The past couple years, Alabama first half has been the recipe for success. It has been absolutely money in the bank. I think Alabama here is clearly the class of the SEC. Texas A&M, they're highly ranked, but I have to see it to believe it with them. They did not look good in their first game of the season. You could say that they were looking ahead to this Alabama game, and they weren't fully focused on their first week game, which was against Vanderbilt, and they barely won 17-12. If they put up that type of performance here against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, they are going to get wiped away. So I like Alabama here. Like I said, the past couple years, they have been really, really quick starters here. Obviously, they have a new quarterback this year in Mac Jones. He looks solid. I have high hopes for him this year. So I like Alabama here at -10 in the first half. I think they can jump off here to an early lead and hold on to it. Next, we are going with Navy and Air Force. Classic armed forces game here. Navy on the road taking on Air Force. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Air Force has not played yet. Air Force is part of the Mountain West, and the Mountain West is one of the conferences that initially postponed their season. So this is the first game for Air Force. Navy has played 2 games already, so they are way ahead of the curve here against Air Force. So huge advantage here. That's why Navy, even though they haven't looked that impressive this year, that like they've played 2 games, but they've only looked good for one half of those 2 games. They got absolutely shellacked against BYU in game 1. I think they only scored a field goal in that game. And then the first half of the Tulane game last week, they were getting crushed as well. They were down 24-0 at halftime. Then they end up winning that game 27-24. They did not let Tulane score in the second half. So it looks like they figured some things out both offensively and defensively in the second half of that game. But I think a huge advantage here for Navy. They're favored by a touchdown on the road. And this is the reason why Air Force has not played yet. They're going to come out here, should be a little bit sloppy. My only hope for Air Force here is that they can tackle. I don't know how much practicing they've been doing as far as tackling goes, but they will not be fooled by Navy's offense. They play it every year. They run a similar type of offense themselves. Both these teams are going to be running the ball, chewing up the clock. So if they can just keep each other out of the end zone, this is going to be an easy under. On top of that, I think Air Force being in their first game, they're going to be a little bit sluggish, a little bit sloppy early on. I just hope they don't turn the ball over. But Navy should be able to stop whatever Air Force is going to be doing. And on the flip side, Air Force should know what Navy is going to be doing. They have video on them here for 2 games. So they should be fully prepared for Navy. Like I said, they play them every year, so they're already prepared. As long as they can tackle, this game should be super low scoring. As long as both teams can not turn the ball over, go on some long drives that end in field goals, easy under. But we're going to go with the first half because I think Air Force, like I said, they're going to get off to a slow start. So first half under 24. And our last spread is going to be Auburn, Georgia, first half under as well. I'm going with 3 first half unders. In Georgia, typically the past couple years, in their big games, they've been low scoring. Georgia, despite all the weapons that they typically have, they're just not that explosive when it comes to the big games. It seems like they just play it safe. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Both these teams in week 1, this is their second game of the season, they both scored. I think Georgia scored 5 points in the first half last week, and Auburn scored 8. So both these teams got off to a slow start, and they both turned it on in the second half. But I think we get a similar story here with these 2 teams. Like I said, this is a huge game for both these teams. Georgia's number 4, Auburn's number 7. But this is going to go a long way in who's going to win the SEC. So I think early on, the coaches are not going to want to make any big mistakes. So I think we see some safer play here. And like I said, neither of these teams are really that great offensively. We should see a lot of running the ball here, a lot of eating up the clock. Georgia, they're breaking in a new quarterback this year. He looks to be pretty good. So they're just not there yet. This is game 2 for both of these teams. I think it's going to be a slow start, a lower scoring game, especially in the first half. So those are our 5 spreads. Arkansas State is our only full game spread. And then we have 3 first half unders. And we have Alabama first half to cover 10. So hopefully those 5 come in, because I think these 5 money lines should come in fairly easy. We have Florida. They are at home against South Carolina. South Carolina is a pretty good team. I think they'll put up a pretty good fight here, but Florida at home will take care of business. That defense is no joke. Offensively, they're pretty good as well. They're highly ranked for a reason. Florida at home will take care of business. UAB is also at home against UTSA. UTSA is 3-0. But don't let that fool you. This is not a good team. UAB is much better at home. They will win that game. Cincinnati's at home against a really bad South Florida team. I love Cincinnati at home. Oklahoma State is our only road team that we're taking. Typically on money lines, you want to be careful with any road teams. College football upsets happen all the time, but I don't see it here. This Kansas team is really, really bad. Oklahoma State, they looked pretty bad in their first game. They did pull it off, but they look much, much better in their second game. I think that continues here. They should crush Kansas. Les Miles is not looking like he's going to be able to turn this Kansas team around, at least not yet, at least not this year. Oklahoma State should roll. And last but not least, we have UCF against Tulsa at home. I think Tulsa can hang here. They have a decent offense. Their first game, which was against Oklahoma State didn't look that great, but I think you have to give Tulsa some credit there. They kept that game close. They had a lot of chances to come away and win that game for a huge, huge upset. But UCF here, when it's all said and done, they'll find a way to win this game. Their offense is just going to be too much for Tulsa to handle for the full game. So all 5 of those money lines should easily come in. And I really like all 5 of those spreads to come in as well. 200 will pay $5,051.08. If I didn't mention it earlier in the video, the Longshot Parlay is any parlay where the payout is $5,000 or more. Typically, in the past, it's been $10,000 or more, but since we don't have all the conferences playing, we don't have as many games, I reduced it to $5,000 for this year, and then next season we will bump that right back up to $10,000. So this is a 10-team parlay, 5 spreads, 5 money lines. Like I said, 200 to win $5,051.08. This is my actual betting ticket to show you guys that I did put this in myself already. But like I said, I don't necessarily recommend you guys throw this in. Maybe pluck out your favorite money lines, pluck out your favorite spreads, do a smaller parlay if you wish. Like I said, whatever you choose to do with these plays is up to you, but I just want to give you guys a bunch of different options. So those are 5 spreads, 5 money lines that I like, and that is that. So that's a long shot parlay. We'll root this one on. This is attempt number 4. We had some pretty good attempts in our first 3, but we have not hit it yet. My goal is to hit this one time this season, so we have plenty of time to hit it, but I'm hoping this is the one that comes through, because why settle for one? Let's hit this multiple times. But that's the long shot parlay. Next, I'm going to go on to our free play of the day. But before I do want to mention my website, JVilleSportsPicks.com. If you're not receiving my daily newsletter each and every day, super, super cheap to do it. A couple bucks a day will get you picks in all sports: NBA, WNBA, MLB. I was about to say NHL, but the NHL season is done. We finished the NHL season with a win. We had Tampa Bay. Congratulations to them winning the Stanley Cup. But of course, we have the NFL and college football. And before you know it, college basketball, my favorite sport, is right around the corner. I absolutely love it when college basketball tips off, because early in the season, you have, especially this year with college football starting later, when college basketball and college football is going on at the same time, you definitely want to be a part of the village. That is when I absolutely just clean up. There are so many games. I don't sleep on Friday nights. I have so much to go through between college football and college basketball. So many games on those Saturdays, but I absolutely love it. But anyways, college basketball right around the corner, tipping off at the end of November next month. So a lot of action each and every day. Like I said, we're smack dab in the middle of college football and the NFL. So if you're not receiving my daily newsletter, this is the website. This is how to get there: JVilleSportsPicks.com. In the upper right hand corner, the big blue button, hit that button. It will take you to a page which will list all the different packages that are available. See which one suits you the best. Like I said, you can get all of my plays in all sports for a few dollars a day. Super cheap. I do that for a reason. I'm about building your bankroll, not taking from it. What I would say to you is try my picks out for 30 days. See how you like it. If you do like it, if you're winning, obviously stick with me and we'll win together. If you don't, then of course you can move on. No questions asked. If I have a losing record during those 30 days, guess what? You get your money back, or you can have another month free. So it is no risk to you to try me out for 30 days. So I urge you to do it. Go to JVilleSportsPicks.com. Hit that big blue button, sign up, start winning with us today. No better time than now to join us. Like I said, we're in week 5 of the college football season, so now we're starting to see who these teams are. It's only the second game this week for the SEC teams, so still a lot of football to be played. Like I said, each and every week we're getting more and more data, and it's going to become easier and easier as the weeks go on, as we really know who these teams are and how they play, the different styles and stuff like that, especially in the NFL. I love the NFL card this weekend. I think we're going to sweep the board, so we'll see what we can do in the NFL. So we're going to continue to crush football, both college and the NFL. But that's what we're doing over in the Village. Now let's get on to today's free play of the day. So I'm going to stick with what I've been doing. I'm going to let you guys know what my favorite play is from that long shot parlay. If you wanted to take one play and one play only, my favorite play is actually going to be in the Navy Air Force game. It's that under. I am loving this under. It is definitely going to be one of the plays that I'm going to be putting on my daily card. I love both the first half and full game under. So the under for the game is at 48 right now in most places. And the first half under is at 24 in a lot of places. So either way, I think you can't go wrong. I like the first half under because I think Air Force playing in their first game is going to get off to a slow start. But like I said, neither of these teams are going to be fooling each other. Navy does not look that impressive this year. They had a lot of tackling issues early in the season, but in the second half of that game last week against Tulane, completely shut them out. They did not give up a point. So hopefully they can build upon that. And like I said, with Air Force playing their first game, I like Navy here to just shut them down completely. And then Air Force, like I said, they won't be fooled by what Navy is going to be doing. So as long as they don't have any tackling issues like Navy did early in the season, I think this is a good recipe for the under, both under in the full game and under in the first half. So that's today's free play or free plays of the day, is going to be the under, whichever one you decide to take, or maybe both. But I love the Air Force Navy game under. I took them myself. I took both of them. That is today's free play of the day. I'll be releasing that along with my best plays over in the Village, over in my daily newsletter, which you'll receive by email if you are a part of the Village. So if you're not receiving my daily emails, definitely sign up at JVilleSportsPicks.com. Start winning with us today. But that's going to wrap it up for college football. Stay tuned for my NFL video as we attempt another long shot teaser, and I will have another straight bet free play as well. One of my favorite straight bets of the week. I think has a good shot to come through. So stay tuned for that video. But other than that, that's going to wrap up college football. Good luck with whatever plays you guys do decide to put in yourselves. Just have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for joining me.